many of y'all have kids? I'm just curious. Here's what I need you to do. When I tell you this story, think about your kids. Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees, with her hands over her head, begging for her life, begging for her hero, her father, me, that couldn't be there. She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds.
On May 3rd, 2025, in Columbia, South Carolina, a crime unfolded that would take the life of a young woman, devastate her family, and expose deep cracks in the American justice system. The victim was Logan Federico. Just 22 years old, Logan grew up in Waxhaw, North Carolina. She was described by family and friends as kind-hearted, full of life, and devoted to her loved ones. On that weekend in early May, Logan had traveled to Columbia to spend time with friends, a short trip, just to relax and enjoy herself. But she could not have known that her visit would end in tragedy. The man who would cross her path was Alexander Dickey, age 30. To the people of Columbia, he was already known as a habitual offender. His criminal record stretched back over a decade, with nearly 40 arrests tied to burglary, theft, drug offenses, and weapons charges. Again and again, he had been arrested, processed, and released. In 2023, Dickey pled guilty to third-degree burglary, but instead of serving more prison time, he was credited for time already spent in custody and placed on probation. Despite his long history, he walked free. In the early morning hours of Saturday, May 3rd, 2025, around 4 a.m., police say Dickey began his crime spree on Cypress Street in Columbia. First, he broke into a home, stealing car keys, wallets, credit cards, and a firearm. Then, armed with that weapon, he entered the neighboring house, the very place where Logan Federico was staying. Investigators say he walked into Logan's bedroom. Without hesitation, he raised the gun and fired. The bullet struck Logan in the chest. She died instantly. She had been in Columbia for less than a day, and at just 22 years old, her life was over. But the crime did not end there. After leaving the scene, Dickey began using the stolen credit cards. Surveillance and transaction records placed him in Lexington County and Saluda County, making purchases as he moved across the region. He stole multiple vehicles, crashing one and abandoning it before fleeing on foot into wooded areas. His flight from police lasted for days, stretching from May 3rd through May 6th, 2025. At one point, authorities say Dickey even set fire to a residence in Gaston, South Carolina, where he had barricaded himself. The standoff ended when police surrounded the home and took him into custody. On May 6, 2025, after a multi-county pursuit, Alexander Dickey was finally under arrest. He was charged with a long list of offenses: murder of Logan Federico, first-degree burglary on multiple counts, possession of a weapon during a violent crime, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, grand larceny, motor vehicle larceny, theft of financial transaction cards. For Logan's family, these charges were only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, public anger mounted, not only over Logan's murder, but over the question of why Dickey had been free in the first place. Investigative reports uncovered troubling details. South Carolina's criminal record-keeping system had failed. Fingerprints from some of Dickey's prior arrests were never submitted to state databases. As a result, prosecutors did not have a complete picture of his criminal history. This gap, critics say, led to lighter sentences, plea bargains, and repeated opportunities for Dickey to walk free. Logan's father, Stephen Federico, has spoken out repeatedly.
He should have been in jail for over 140 years for all the crimes he committed. You know how much time he spent in prison? A little over 600 days in 10 years. He's only 30 years old. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old, but nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you'd have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated. Isn't that the idea of prison? But no, My daughter wanted to be a teacher. She finally figured it out 2 weeks before she was executed. And I haven't heard a damn word from Byron Gibson in South Carolina. Not one word. 4 months, no communication. His biggest concern was that he was pissed off about my interview and how I made him look on the Fox News channel with Trey Gowdy. How pathetic is that? That we're letting our 22-year-old kid visiting friends. It's all she ever wanted to do was visit friends. And she literally was executed while on her knees begging for her life. Her name's Logan Federico, not Irina. And you will not forget her. I promise you. You will be sick and tired of my face and my voice until this gets fixed. I will fight until my last breath for my daughter.
In his words, he should have been in jail. If the system had done its job, Logan would still be alive. His grief has become a driving force in demanding reform. The case also sparked political fallout. Congressman Ralph Norman called for the impeachment of the local solicitor, citing repeated failures to pursue tougher penalties against repeat offenders like Dickey. Community leaders questioned whether prosecutors, judges, and law enforcement had done enough to keep the public safe. The murder of Logan Federico became more than an isolated tragedy. It became a symbol of what happens when systemic failures collide with violent crime. As of September 2025, Alexander Dickey remains in custody, awaiting trial. If convicted, he faces the possibility of life in prison. But for Logan's family, justice will never truly be done. The pain of losing her cannot be erased by courtrooms or verdicts. At 22 years old, Logan Federico's life had barely begun. Her death is a story of innocence lost, of a family left broken, and of a system called into question. Her memory now stands as a warning, a reminder of the devastating cost when justice fails.